Oh, hoi, hoi, friends, I'm a mess already. I, at 3 seconds, I was like, oh shit, my air conditioner is still running and it's loud. And welcome to the salon. Oh, it's a mess. Welcome, Joel. First time saloner on view screen.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Welcome, Trev. Yes, we are excited to have you. We have a smaller away team today, although this isn't the away team, it's the main feed or whatever. Working on my branding kit.
Words and things.
Words, yes. Hello. Smaller crew tonight. We've got folks traveling at a concert in an agonizer booth all over the place, but they're here within our Katra and our paws. How y'all doing?
We're doing.
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Oh, good call out, Sohail. It's intimate, like the wormhole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about the interdimensional butthole. Like that, they showed that sphincter closing and opening so many times.
It was winking.
This episode was co-written by a homosexual. Like, was it intentional? I'm gonna say yes.
But did he have control over when you write an episode? Do you have control over what the effects look like?
As I am getting into screenwriting, it is my understanding that the writer should paint the picture with their words. And so it is, don't laugh at painting. That's not what I meant.
Can you just push the button for what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chaos. With such a small crew, the chaos reigns. Change the picture.
Also, Sohail's comment is, yeah.
Hi, Rachel. Hi, Benji. Thank you to Benji in the chat for also moderating the chat. So keep it classy, otherwise he'll boot you out. Or I don't know how the moderating works. I barely figured out how to make him a moderator on the channel.
Good luck, Benji.
Not as bad as it used to be. There used to be a lot of bots.
Yes. On the one time I streamed on Twitch playing a game with a friend, Benji was there and he was like, and there were a bunch of bots and he was like, hey, make me an admin and I can fix it. And that was much easier than YouTube was. So thank you, Benji, for always being there for us. Always appreciate it.
I've been doing mod stuff for years. Jesse Gender made me one first. And then...
Oh, fun. It is a necessary evil with not necessary evil. It is a necessity with the evil that can exist in certain chats. Yeah. Luckily, not ours thus far. We've been good. We've been good thus far.
Though it does give me flashbacks to our Spaces days.
Oh, Spaces. We have been talking about doing the after
show. Yeah.
Sohail does his After Dark. We've thought about doing a Salon After Dark, which is just more bitchy chaos, but
less structure.
Perhaps back on Twitter Spaces, less visual, so that we can walk around again. Or who knows?
Less visual. You don't get any signs then.
Well, it's a work in progress. We haven't decided yet.
That's me. I'm obsessed. But
well, let's. I'm also obsessed with this episode, so let's get into it, shall we? Now, of course, as always, before we can talk about this episode, we simply must set an intention. Trevor,
it is time. So I've done my fair share of bitching about Maul and Locke and not loving them as a criminal duo. And so what I thought would be fun is if we shared with no constraints around timeline or series or any of that nonsense, what random Trek pairing do you feel would make a great criminal duo or crime, a couple of crime bandits? And as always, I'll start us off. And mine actually could involve some time shenanigans or not. But I would love to see Guinan team up with Spock. I just feel like it's a fun, potentially hilarious duo. As much as I would like to see, somehow it be possible for us to travel back in time and it to be Whoopi and Leonard. I think Whoopi and Ethan would be just as much fun. So I'm here for it. But
I
would love to know.
Against shoehorning Spock into new projects because it happens too much. I'm not talking about Strange New Worlds, but this one I love.
It does. It does. Yeah. And originally I was going Guinan in a different direction, but Guinan and Spock, I was actually thinking about Data, but Guinan and Spock just works for me. And yes, despite the excessive shoehorning that has happened in the past. So let's go around the fairly smaller conference room, and we'll start with our newest on-screen Saloner, Joel. Tell me who your random Trek criminal duo would be.
Okay, my favorite Trek crime is stealing ships. So
Okay,
I think we should go with Scotty, the OG, and team up with Jet. I think they could really do a lot of damage and steal pretty much anything.
ooh. That's some comedy gold right there. I love it. Joanne?
I like that too. Oh, mine is probably Data
Mm-hmm.
and Troy. I think it would call back to kind of to Perfect Mate, my favorite episode. Yes, I know it's problematic. But him escorting Kamala around the ship, hilarious. I think Troy would bring the same kind of dynamic with him. And they'd be pretty good. But we saw them together at the end of Picard too. So I like that.
I love it. And his random stray thoughts won't get in her head because she can't read him.
She can't read him.
Fabulous. Fearless leader.
Although now they seem to have insinuated that he does have some kind of emotions that she does detect.
Current Data in new body, yes.
Yes.
Spoiler alert for season 3 of Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, sorry. Year ago, spoiler alert.
That's right.
My answer is also within the same series, and it's Kira and Garrick. We obviously saw them team up to help lead the Cardassian uprising during the Dominion War, but more courier-esque shenanigans would be super fun between those two. And I'll steal Joel's idea a little bit. I'm sure that they could steal some ships pretty well too. Indeed.
Speaking of Colonel Kira, tonight's Salon is brought to you by Anana Rita.
Cheers to Nana.
Cheers.
Yum yum yum. Oh God, I just said yum yum like I was non. That's not what I meant.
Can't take it back now. Sorry.
Oh, it's out there. It's forever on the internet.
Forever and ever. Well, lovely intention setter as always. So let's get into this week's episode. Season 5, episode 5. We are sadly halfway through the final season of Star Trek Discovery. Super fun episode. Let's get into our top thoughts. All right. This is a 60-second or less rant on the episode. I do not time, obviously, if you've seen this before. But let's go Joanne, Joel, Trevor, and then I'll round us out. Top thoughts on the episode.
So at first I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a mirror universe episode. And I was prepared to not like it. But I centered my thoughts in my mind and paid attention to it. And I actually I liked this episode. I love when they're kind of character heavy and not a lot of sciencing and things happening in the background. They're just people talking and building the connection. I really love that. And I loved, Raynor kind of settling in with the crew and, finding his own voice. And I really thought that was handled really well. We can talk about that when we get there. But overall, I thought it was a great episode, and yeah, I loved it. 2 thumbs up.
Okay. I like this episode too. I think maybe for us, everyone here, it might have been a little muted because it's built on some reveals. And I think we all knew we all saw there was a Connie from the Mirror Universe coming, so that part was not a surprise. It was cool, and I guessed that Locke was a Breen. I didn't know for sure, so that wasn't a huge surprise because we had heard the Breen were coming. But it's still good. Then we do get Maul and Locke's backstory, which of course we didn't know, and yes, there's a wormhole apparently too. Trev?
That was the less than 60 seconds.
I tried.
You did great. So this episode for me, I feel bad because like I feel like I was harder on last week's episode than I intended to be, and I feel like now I'm going to be not as tough on this one as I want to be. The Maul and Locke stuff, I appreciate the background, but I don't love the characters, and so the fleshing out of their relationship was not fun for me. It also, and I know this was kind of mentioned on Textrex conversation earlier this evening, it felt like their entire relationship took place in a cargo bay. Like, I get that we're just seeing bits and pieces. Like, I know we didn't see it all, but like the bottleness of this bottle show, where we just used 2 standing sets and an AR wall, felt a little meh. The pieces that I enjoyed were the pieces we didn't get enough of, in my opinion. I really appreciated last week's for being more of a Rainer episode, and I liked seeing him on the bridge with, adapting to this crew and encouraging and trying to motivate this crew. I liked our science team sciencing, and enjoyed. I'm enjoying the Burnham and Book of it all, but I'm kind of annoyed by the angst of like, will they or won't they again when they already have? Like, that's kind of weird. So I have a feeling this series will end with them together, and I'm like, can we just get them back together? Because like having them do this thing is weird. All of that said, it's a beautiful episode. I like the way that they went about making it a mirror episode without actually going to the mirror universe per se. And I'm sure we'll talk all about the apparent best place to hide lost treasure is in a butthole.
Very Pulp Fiction.
Didn't think I'd earned it, but I earned it.
Great time.
Oh wait, actually, technically, Joel and I, that was teamwork.
Yep.
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And it loosens up the butthole. You gotta
6 teamworks. You need 6 teamworks. Don't ask why.
Unlike the shuttle suppository, it is better to slowly work your way in, and then you can work up some.
Don't start with the Connie. You'll get hurt.
I also enjoyed this episode.
Tell us why.
My top thoughts are. I'm a teenager. I really enjoyed the world building of this episode. I think this season is shaping up to be one of my favorites, probably. I think they're getting things. I don't want to say right because it's subjective, it's art. But for me, I'm like, I really like the pacing. I think they're really balancing things very well. Like any episode of Trek from any era, I have some nitpicks, but they're little things. Some of my nitpicks that I usually have actually get addressed in this episode in lovely ways. Like why don't they take a security team? They have some dialogue about that. Loved it. I loved that moment with her and Rainer. And so getting back to top thoughts, really great character moments between Book and Maul, even though I don't really care about that, which we'll get into. Book and Michael and Rainer. Tilly and Colbert, even though that's feeling a little like I think they're going to flesh that out a little bit more. One thing about this episode that I think, or the last couple of episodes, there are bits and pieces from each that I think would probably have fit better in other ones. Like last week, I think it was you, Trevor, who said that the Saru and Tarina-ness from Janal would have fit a little bit better last episode. And I think the stuff with Colbert and Tilly, maybe in a similar way, maybe that could have been put in the Janal episode, but he was having that conversation with Michael too of a similar nature. So I'm sure they're going to flesh that out. But I love the world building that we're getting. I mentioned on Text Trick stream earlier with Rachel and Joel and Braxton and Marcelo that I thought it was really neat how they used Kelleran culture to be the connective tissue and reference things. Too often in Trek, I feel like even an alien will reference something from Earth history because it's a known point for the audience. It makes sense, but I liked how they're referencing Kelleran culture to make the point that like we get it. Like this is a way for Burnham and Rayner to know what they're talking about. We obviously got some Breen back, some Breen world building. They are partially changelingish, or we're going to talk about that because like that didn't quite land for me. It was like, what is it? What isn't it? But like,
or are they melting without their refrigeration suits?
Oh no, maybe. We'll get into it, but I like that we've developed the Breen a little bit.
I'm probably wrong, but turning the Breen into popsicles is fun for me.
That
Sorry,
is
keep going.
hilarious. But incredible visuals. I agree with Maul and Locke. I like that we got more about them, but it feels a little soap opera-y. Like, oh, they love each other, and that's why it's whatever. I'm sort of indifferent towards it, but I'm liking the way that they are building their adversaries more than they have in the past. Like this kind of pacing for the character building of Tarka would have worked rather than surprise, he's gay way too late. Anyway, those are my top thoughts. Any other random bits and bobs before we get into other bits and bobs?
Well, like I said on Text Track too, turning or bringing in Michael's anthropology background to the thing with Rayner was wonderful. Bring it all the way back to first episode. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It was great for both characters and just a great storytelling device.
Yeah.
Like it was normally I'm very critical of the things they've forgotten, and this time they remembered.
Well, let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about Rayner and his development, growth from asshole to, in this episode, just a little curmudgeon-y. Actually working with the crew, encouraging them to riff and brainstorm. Very different than his past commanding that he would do. Thoughts on Rayner and his development in this episode?
I really loved it. I appreciate the kind of leader Rainer is, because like I said, I think I mentioned before, I have some similar traits. I'm very direct. In my professional world, I'm very direct, and I don't suffer a lot of foolishness, right? But I appreciated him kind of finding his way with the crew, but not losing his edge, right? He still was relational in his own way and demonstrated that he cared. Because I don't want him, and I didn't want the message to be like, you have to be Michael or you have to be, Pike. You be you, but you still connect, right, with the crew and you're still relational. So I really thought that was a good way that they showed really how he kind of found his own way and again injected himself and his culture and in a way that just wasn't dickish. So I thought it was a really good kind of demonstration of you know of what we say in the corporate world all the time, of bringing your whole self to work, right?
Aw. It
So
was
I
kind of amazing
felt
how
it.
reverential he was to Michael's captaincy. Never sat in the chair once. They bring it up at the end, but then I
Mhm.
rewatched it, and yeah, he's hanging out behind it and standing on the bridge. He never sits in the chair.
It
I
was
did.
very reminiscent of Michael in the third season, like you said. Really cool. It's like, no, I haven't. This isn't mine.
He also strikes me as somebody who doesn't sit much, right?
Mhm.
Like I could imagine him on
Could be.
his own ship that he was a stander, but
Which is
I
why,
think
Ractigino after Ractigino.
yeah, he gives me. I've said this since episode 1. He gives me Lorca vibes, not Shaw vibes. I know a lot of people are saying Shaw. I don't. This guy's a dick, but I don't get. I don't get overt bias from him.
yeah.
No, not
It's
at
an
all.
in-universe criticism of Shaw, not of Todd. Just to be very clear.
I also wonder how much of him coming off as a dick is him. I mean, he's been written as a person who is of, you know, the century that our crew is not actually indigenous to. So is he just a normal byproduct of post-burn Starfleet who has been plucked out of that and plugged into this crew as their executive officer, whose
Yeah.
job it is to carry out the orders of the captain? So is he a dick, or is he just particularly proficient around a group of people who are, you know, constantly described as a family? So it's like he's not wrong. He just has a style that rubs people the wrong way.
I appreciate this conversation because I'm going to be able to bring this up in my next one-on-one with my boss. I got a note this morning about being more collegial in email with my colleagues.
Oh my!
Well, I'm taking it personally. It was we need to be, and I was. I think they're talking to me, but it's fine. It's fine. I am very direct in email. I'm very Rainer like in my email, but not that aggressive.
To everyone's point about him not sitting in the captain's chair and not sitting often, he didn't sit during his entire one-on-one with the crew as they
Right.
came,
Yeah.
you know, circulating through the lab. He was just standing at the table talking to each one of them.
20 words. That's not a sitting thing.
Yeah.
No, 20 words and you're out. So it's more of a, he's just, they've done a very good job of painting him as different. Sorry, painting him as
Painting him.
different.
In the butthole.
We cannot, and I have to switch my
That was-
microphone. Tell me if my sound gets weird. We cannot
It's okay.
allow painting to be.
I think it's just a thing now. But Joanne gets her very own special button for that.
I will have to come up with a video for that.
Giving her credit
ooh.
for, I'm giving her a problematic ally despite.
Yeah,
the gayness
yeah,
of
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. No. You're right. I will
Yeah.
get back. I will get on top of it.
In the arms of the angel.
Brought to you by Sarah McLaughlin and the ASPCA.
Paint away with me.
All I can hear every time you play that is Will cracking up at the song and just laughing as we were making
He
it.
has
Anyway,
a distinct laugh. Yes,
he does. It's fantastic.
it's delightful.
But anyway, the moral of the story is I don't think Rainer is as, I think he's just different, and I appreciate him for bringing his authentic self to the office, as Joanne was earlier describing.
Yes.
And he's from a Starfleet that's just survival Starfleet.
Yeah.
Before, you know, they brought dilithium with them and then with the Discovery. So it's
And
completely
what
different.
it aren't Kellerans, weren't they kind of xenophobic, or am I remembering another? We don't know.
I mean,
they
they-
were just that biogenic weapon.
Yeah, they needed help destroying a biogenic weapon that they had, you know, and then sought to assassinate the people who came to help them destroy
Yeah.
it. So they're
Yeah.
not
Well,
exactly
you
warm
know,
and fuzzy.
Yeah,
Just
they're
bad
kind of
person.
Willowpillish. You know, they hate people.
Right.
So, yeah.
You
Absolutely.
can't paint them all like that. It's been 800.
No. Mm.
It's
Oh,
borderline.
that was an
Borderline.
accident, actually.
That was-
It really was.
In the arms of
I don't know if I
What?
liked the actual alert itself more or Joanne throwing her arms up in victory. That she had set it up and it landed so well.
I hate, as somebody who enjoys acrylics and painting on canvas, I hate that I know what that phrase means. I hate you all, but especially you, Joanne, and especially Will.
Love you. Mean
But I love
it.
you dearly. Final thoughts on Rainer before we talk about other aspects of the episode.
Just the most recent comment, which is basically what I was trying to say, but taking a really long time to get there. So thank you for the succinctness of Rainer would have been fine on Picard's Enterprise.
Yes, thank you,
'Cause I
DT.
agree.
All right, let's talk about just like old times. It's Michael and Book. We talked about this last week. In one of the time jumps, Michael ends up going to her quarters and seeing all of that sexiness shirtless. And he says, I love you. This is her past, and she has to keep up the ruse and not let the past get ruined. And she says, I love you too. Subtext, of course, being, I still love you. And then we get this episode where they're working together again as couriers. Thoughts on Michael and Book? I agree with you, Trev. They are definitely setting this up for them getting back together. I do hope that this, like some other things in past seasons, they don't stretch this out too much. But I do like that we are getting something a little new with a relationship in Star Trek. We saw none of Riker and Troy. We just knew that they were together. There's a little bit of weirdness in season 1. They kiss on Beta Z. A little bit of weirdness once in a while, and then they get married in Nemesis.
There's a novel in the middle, Imzadi, right?
And there's an Imzadi here and there, and every once in a while they kiss. And I can find that banner. I have too many banners.
It's a problem.
This one's always relevant. Here we go. This is the one you were looking for.
Thank you.
But I do like that we got with this we're getting like we had a relationship end and now getting back together. That seeing it happen is new in Trek, and I like that's something that I've always loved about Discovery is they do new things in the franchise that we haven't seen before. Effective, like it's subjective depending on whatever we're talking about. I like the pacing of it thus far, but I agree if it stays this slow, which I feel like it probably is going to because this feels like a end of season. They're back together, or
one more clue.
So. Yeah, episode 8 or 9, they have to get back together and to figure it out or something. But what are y'all's thoughts on Book and Michael in this episode?
I wouldn't have as many problems with the will they or won't they and the they probably are of it all if we hadn't gone through this with Stamets and Culber. And I hated it when we went through it with them because that was actually a great opportunity to show the intricacies and the intimacies of their relationship. Like, show me Stamets helping Culber through this experience that no one can possibly understand, but still as his husband, he helps him through this weird situation, and that shows you insight, that gives you insight into their relationship. Instead, it's I'm alive and I'm mad about it and I don't want to be with anyone and I'm going to move out, but hang out with these people over here and have fun. Like it was unnecessary angst and weirdness, and then that got resolved in frankly way too fast a fashion. And now we're doing again, oh, we had a couple and they've broken up and they're probably going to get back together again at the end of the season. Like it's just like stop doing that because it's weird.
It's also very vague too. Like we both forgot to call because we were busy.
Yeah,
That's my thing. Like I get it. Like if I think about it, I'm like it makes sense to me why she would be distant. Like he went to prison. I mean,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes. And, that's a lot. to deal
She's
with,
not.
right? And
You were on Team Tarka. She doesn't say that.
right, but that whole dynamic is there too. I'm sure there's this level of betrayal, but they've never really kind of named, why this is so hard for them to
They
work
need
through
couples counseling
it.
with Culber so we can know.
I don't know about Colbert, maybe Tilly, right?
I was going to say, Culber would have been a better couples counselor had he actually been able to navigate. This is going to
His
sound
own.
strange. His own death and stayed married. Anyway, that
Yeah,
was bad.
Just because
yeah.
you can't, do your own doesn't mean you can't counsel others.
I mean, fair, but they've never really, like I said, they've never really named why this is so, touchy go or whatever. That's not a word, is it? But you know what I
It
mean.
is now.
Touchy go. But I don't know. I really want them to get back together because, like I said, I'm a fan of Book, and just how he just plays against type and all of the stereotypes. And they were just that's such an important image. And their relationship was just such an important image, in universe and out of universe, right? So I hope it's not mishandled, is my constant kind of like why I wanted to come to resolution so quickly. But I don't know.
And they need to get back together for the sake of Grudge. And we've all been ignoring this, and I think it needs to end.
Grudge is not feeling Michael recently.
If
I think
ever.
Grudge might be a disruptor for the relationship. Like we were fine
Grudge
without
broke
this
them
bitch.
up. Grudge.
Yeah. Grudge is like, we don't need this bitch, Book. I'm your queen. So
Grudge did
I'm
get
Yeah,
actually-
I am fighting for my life in the.
I see that. What have you done?
Yeah, no.
Good luck, sir.
I'm loving it. I'm loving the activity in the chat. Thank you all. Great clarifying moment. I did not mean to suggest that we haven't had a good love story in Star Trek before. What I meant.
mean,
Well, calm down.
we had Jean-Luc and Bev.
Ooh, you're gonna start a fight.
I
they're,
thought you were
they're,
going for
say
Kirk
that with-
Spock.
they're not here. Oh, that's a Bev alert. It's a Bev alert.
It is a Bev alert. I know. I did it on purpose. No, and I did it with love for our Bev heads who I know, or actually I should say our Percrusher fans, because the Bev heads aren't all Percrusher.
Yes.
Not all Bev heads are Percrushers, but all Percrushers are Bev heads.
Yeah. Who
Venn
is?
diagram. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Randolph. You're saying yourself. Ooh. Okay. So, we've had great love stories in Star Trek. I meant a breakup and a reconciliation. I've been corrected in the chat. We did see that with Colburn and Stamets.
Oh, but I was just ranting about that. That wasn't a good breakup and good reconciliation, because the breakup was for a shitty reason, and the reconciliation was, well, you almost died, so I'm going to kiss you, and that means we're together, even though you're in a coma and can't say yes, I agree with you.
I also want to highlight that. Here we see Ethan Peck, Spock, and Randolph will have a great love story. And I was like, who
Very
is
specific.
Randolph? And then Evan Evangoria's Elnor and Randolph will have a great love story. I'm like, who is Randolph? And then
It's
my
literally
eyes right in
Randolph.
front of me, Randolph. And that will get a honorary from the chat, not to assume, but going from the name. And please correct me if I am wrong, but yes.
Aim high.
Ethan Peck's, those spitties. Yes. Also, I will say again for everybody, them
gay.
make-
Yes.
them, good. I want to make sure we're clear. Them making Ethan Peck shave his chest when canonically Spock has chest hair, crime.
Yeah, it's weird.
Maybe Ethan was just self-conscious. You don't know that they made him.
And Randolph, for the record, the problematic gay alert is just a fun way of us saying we're being thirsty, not actually problematic. Although some of us.
So, yeah, we use the term liberally.
We're not
In
intentionally problematic.
in your case, Randolph, you are not
Whatever, but
problematic
it's
at all.
still happening.
Yes.
So
All over the place.
not all problematic gay alerts are problematic, but never mind.
New
nowhere-
topic.
There was nowhere to go with that.
Anyways- No, there wasn't.
A fun reveal in this episode, and I will admit I was wrong. I theorized a few weeks ago that Locke was Zinkethi. I think if I had waited a week, I would have thought Breen as well. But the way that they were dropping hints,
Visors.
yeah, super cool to see. And then another visual. I only noticed it when I put these images side by side. I thought it really cool progression of their frozen suits or whatever.
Frozen.
They're to keep them cool, right? That's the presumption. Except
refrigeration suits. Yeah.
Except Wei-Yun says that their world is presumed to be really hot or frigid or whatever. That's why they wear the suits. But it's actually very temperate. Oh, but why the suits? Nobody knows. But I noticed
someone knows.
Someone, yes.
Kira Nerys ripped one of those suits off somebody.
I saw that from the Scorch. Like she knew the whole time, and good for her for not telling it. She knows that this culture is not.
It didn't matter to Kira. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I like to believe that she A, focused on the mission, and B, respectful of other cultures. She's like, hey, they stay hidden for a reason, so whatever. Or to pop a bubble in the fun, maybe she just found an extra suit, but whatever.
That's my thought. She stole it like from the shower.
I didn't notice until I put these images next to each other that the green line is very different places on the face, right? Like, I'm not just imagining that.
No,
it's their eyes in the future, and the old one was not apparently.
It's like up here, the old one.
A light,
their forehead,
or maybe a camera, and like inside is a view screen.
Or that's where Breen eyes are. I don't know.
No.
Maybe their eyes are higher up.
When you're really cold, your eyes go higher. I don't know.
When their eyes go high, mine go what? No, that's not what she said.
That's not it either.
When I will get there. When their eyes go low, our eyes go high. Michelle Obama, 32nd century.
I just wish I could say something in Breen and sound convincing, because it would be fun to just kind of break into that voice from time to time.
That would be an excellent cosplay, but I feel like it would be very expensive to get it right.
And very warm.
Yeah. Yes. That it would need to be a refrigeration suit with like at least air conditioning in it. So let's talk about the Breen reveal. I thought, I loved the visuals. I thought this was similar to I said this a couple weeks ago, the AR wall for the caves was done really well. I thought this season, episode 1 was kind of a miss. I was like, well, that's clearly the AR wall, and like knowing it's the AR wall isn't a problem. It's used to tell a visual story, but it was just jarringly obvious to me. In Janal, I thought it used for the caves was excellent, and this was even better. I thought they did an amazing job. The whole production team on the visual, like there's shit moving there. There's a bunch of little ships. We see some more detail in the ships, which is always appreciated. That was one of my criticisms from last week. I really wish we saw what that Breen ship looked like. And I think we got a little bit more detail this week of different ships and their like mining station or whatever the hell that is. And hopefully more in the future, but really great use of depth, like stuff happening in the background, a foreground, balanced out. I have a question that will also lead to, I want to hear y'all's thoughts on the Breen reveal. What is the deal with the two faces? I did not understand, like, why does the prince not like that Locke is showing his lesser form? Are we going to get more of that, or did I miss something?
I think it's not all revealed yet. There's more.
Yeah, my theory is just that's the face that they show others, and therefore it's not appropriate for him because he shouldn't be doing that. I don't know.
And
It felt to me kind of like the little lighty guy from TNG, and like you said, they evolved or whatever, and that this was kind of their base form, and so they're just kind of shaking that off, like, don't, you know, you're above that now, kind of.
And it just like his uncle boss or whatever said, it takes effort to remain in the solid form. And Locke's been portrayed as kind of out of breath and tired every time you see him like that. So he kind of insinuates that when you're refrigerated, then you don't have to spend effort on that. You can put all your effort into, you know, taking over all the Breen and becoming super Breen. And you can't do that if you have a solid face.
There's some interesting theories in the chat. I've wondered about this because it did look slightly changeling-esque. Like maybe we know that, well, we don't know, but it has been said in Deep Space Nine that it was believed that the changelings used to be like the solids, I believe is the wording.
Mhm.
So maybe the Breen are evolving into a changeling form. I'm wondering if this is a little bit of foreshadowing to why they would want the progenitor tech. Maybe there's
I
a
do
connection
think
to
it's a
that tech.
progenitor tie because we all kind of have, you know, that same DNA, and that, you know, how it plays out and has evolved, so that it makes sense that there'd be groups of species with similar sorts of traits and activities.
There is a comment in, I think it's in season 7. I think it may be in the 10 episode finale of DS9. There's a line of dialogue about the Breen homeworld actually being quite gorgeous, and they're like, well, then why the refrigeration suits? And they're like, exactly. And the suggestion is that they're wearing them to throw people off. But what if they're wearing them so that they can maintain a bipedal form, because they are actually in normal temperatures gooey,
Goo.
They're gooey.
for lack of a better.
Yeah, and maybe that,
Yeah.
yeah, like y'all said, maybe that's why Locke is tired all the time, because he's taking his suit off.
He's struggling to retain a form that he normally wouldn't occupy. I don't know. I'm reaching, but I feel like there's a tie in there.
We got a little bit more about so two things happened with the Breenness of it all. We got a little bit of Maul and Locke, which we'll segue into, but we also got we're going
to hula into more about Maul and Locke.
Not to appropriate culture, but no, will not. We got some interesting tidbits about the Breen in dialogue sprinkled throughout a few episodes. I think they're doing a really good job this season. I think they've heard certain criticisms, that they're pacing things well. They're sprinkling things throughout, but not stretching things out too much, not giving us too much exposition. To varying degrees of success, depending on what we're talking about and individualized perspective. But I think they're doing it really well this season. We heard, I forget which episode it was. I think it was Rayner in episode 2, maybe 3, talking about, the Breen infighting. And so now we learn in this episode that Locke is a prince or whatever. And like, why aren't you helping? These random things popping up on my screen. Why are you not helping us retake the throne? Like you are. What was the line? The line was something like, you're basically a prince, but you're not helping us retake the throne, even though you're
dealing with lesser beings or something.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. We're getting little tidbits about the Breen, while at the same time we're getting Maul and Locke's backstory, which, like I was saying earlier, I liked it. It feels a little soap opera-y, but they're giving us, in a more organic fashion than we've seen before, a fleshing out of our adversaries. And so I'm enjoying that, even though I kind of don't care. Wait, say that again.
I said a jelly fleshing.
Yes. They're spreading their jelly out ever so slow.
Not too thin.
Cover your face.
To the butthole. Royal
the
jelly.
butthole.
Yes.
The Breen weren't at the wormhole.
Well, I mean, technically there was one inside of it.
Yeah.
That's true. Just one.
They
You need
slammed
6.
their ship into it, and
It broke it in
Yes.
half.
And then later they had to hold it open. and
They-
make
I love
it
how they don't
wider.
mention. It's just like, did they hit the Enterprise? It's just like they broke their ship right away.
what is the there's one of the queens of comedy, I think it was Monique. They broke the ship off and threw it upon the forest. It's for my Queens of Comedy fans, even though it's a badly paraphrased. She was talking about Lorena Bobbitt cutting off her husband's dick. She cut it a dick off and threw it.
And threw it in the forest.
And then someone found it.
Oh, God.
Collector's
Can you
item.
imagine?
Welcome to the Salon. To our it was 69 viewers just 2 seconds ago. That would have been perfect, but now it's 68.
For those of you
Wah,
that didn't grow
wah.
up in the late 80s, early 90s, it's a fascinating story you can Google later.
So thoughts on Maul and Locke or the Breenness of it all? I didn't mean to cut that off. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. God damn it.
Didn't mean to bob at the Breen, but
Ugh.
here we are.
But here we are.
I think that takes the boiled cake.
Oh, God.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Thoughts
don't wanna try
on Maul and Locke?
It's kind of like Maul, like Locke works in a truck stop, and Maul is someone who makes deliveries there, and they make out a lot whenever she's there, and it's just kind of like an interesting way to get in a relationship. I mean, she's looking for something with him, though. It's not all revealed. She is not just happened. This guy seems nice because she's looking for something.
You know, as much as I have bashed the two of them, Joel just reminded me that in the mid 90s, I worked in a department store, and there was this one department manager that had the major hots for the UPS driver, and they did end up banging in the delivery area of the store. And they would have made a great criminal duo. So maybe there's more to this story than I'm actually giving credit for.
There's some Brown joke in here I don't want to make.
There was, because of the UPS thing.
Because of UPS.
Okay.
I knew what you meant, but I had to explain it because Stan was giving me I don't get it face.
I was trying to catch up on the chat, and I was like, wait a minute. I was very worried for a hot second.
I really didn't feel like Maul was into Locke until this episode, because she just didn't seem like that she was that into him. And I still, to your point, Joel, I still don't kind of understand like where this intense love came from, other than I guess, you know, he killed some people for her or to protect her. Which maybe that's what she's looking for, you know, since she felt abandoned by her dad or whatever. So it's like, oh, this guy is going to kill his family for me. So I'm totally into him. But I don't know. They're weird.
From Norman in the chat, Maul is the top. That is for sure. Yeah. Also, like, we got to talk about the wigs. Like, Will's not here, so I feel like I need to do this for him.
And for Walter. Come on.
It was so bad. It is a bad wig, and it was so much worse longer.
See, I thought it was better longer. I mean, they're bad regardless.
It looked,
maybe that was just the orange lights. I'm not sure if it was the wig.
It just felt very disproportionate to me. I'm like, those were bad extensions added on. I'm not trying to knock the production. That like the hair and makeup team on the show is fucking phenomenal. That shake and go wig is just not it. And like, all due respect, this is like the one miss from that department for me personally.
It's so weirdly specifically early 90s alternative Babes in Toyland-ish. I mean, they're great, but they had that particular look, and it seemed like they plucked that out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like
I just keep hearing Nene Leakes saying "bye wig," and I can't.
Chris is making a really good point that I've wondered about. I got that she was seeking him out. She knew his name and some backstory. So, like, is this a long con, or did she actually fall for him and like,
or both? Like the
Or both.
movies.
Yeah, because I do get the sense that she really does love him, particularly her scenes with Book, which we should talk about as well. But yeah, like the other thing about the weird thing for me in the Breen scene is he had so much time to put his helmet back on when his uncle or whatever was coming to confront him. Like, why didn't you put your helmet back on? He got caught with his helmet off, and that was one of the bigger problems than just him talking with her. Like, I feel like if he had put his helmet back on, he could have made up an excuse for why they were talking privately.
Always wear a helmet, kids.
Always wear a helmet. Even though it's less fun, always wear a helmet. Final thoughts on the Breenness and the Maul and Lockness of it before we talk about Maul and Book.
I think that covered it.
Then let's talk about these daddy issues. I was also saying this. No helmet, no love. That's right. I was saying this earlier. If somebody came to me and was like, "Oh, I'm a friend of your dad's. We have a connection," I would tell them to fuck right off too. I'm sorry, my dad's a piece of shit. You being his friend means jack shit to me. And then Rachel said, I have a good relationship with my father, and that would still be like, okay, what of it? This is one piece of this season that I think is not landing for me. It's feeling a little too forced. I do understand the Quajon is gone of it all, and so maybe he's grasping at straws, but it's until this episode, there was a little bit of it, but I felt like just not enough of him making it clear that is why he's feeling this connection versus I knew her father and therefore she's my family too. Like that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. That's not how any of this works. So
also, she didn't know his father. She knew his mentor. She knew Cleveland Booker III, right?
So her father is the Cleveland Booker that yes, which is her father
was her father was the third. His mentor is the fourth.
No, he's the fourth.
No. Mentor and father are the same.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You're right.
He just
It's
took
weird,
his name.
but
there's still no huh? It's just it's like, oh, I also used to work for that person. Like it doesn't. It's super weird.
Yeah, I work with your dad. You should love him. I go, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting point from Sohail. It's a cultural thing. No joke. Pakistani families do work that way in general. So,
all right,
something similar could be going on here. Thank you for that. It's a good note. It's a good note because I haven't been feeling it, but that's a really good note. So, yeah. Okay.
I mean, I could get it if we had just met Book and he had been courier and and then the planet blows up, but he has his whole chosen family of, I was about to say Voyager. What show are we watching? Discovery.
I wanted the EMH here, but no.
And he and Michael and Grudge. I mean, it's not like he's alone in the world. He has some deep connection. So it just seems strange to me that he immediately is like, you're my family or you're important to me. But maybe Cleveland Booker was very, very good to him. So, who knows?
And Maul is still like, I hated my dad, but I really want to go to the place he told me about, and I'm obsessed with it. So, yeah, the Big Rock.
I like that we got
Mountain.
a Gamma Quadrant reference.
Yeah, that was good, but
it's intriguing the rebuilding of the Federation. There's a lot of opportunity for them to fill in backstory from the last century that we've seen, which is now with Picard season 3, the 25th century /2-ish. So it's interesting, and I like that they went with the Breen. It's like they could have given us somebody new. I was saying, you know, I wish they would give us some new stuff. But we've gotten a good mix, I think. So it's cool that we're getting the Breen fleshed out.
And they're so underdeveloped. So.
Yeah.
And they're not the Kazon.
Yes.
Yeah, because no.
Yeah, what's up with the Kazon? What's up with the VOD war? This is I put on Twitter the other day 2 things that I want explained in Star Trek, but it would be too boring to put it on screen.
Yay! That was the third thing. You didn't understand balloons.
Yeah, the balloons help jazz up these topics. Number 1, the Starfleet hierarchy. And it was pointed out by somebody on production of season 3, which was lovely, of Star Trek Picard. We did get like a one flow chart, which was cool to see, but I want to know closer. Oh, there's a balloon. Cute.
I can do it too.
There
takes a lot longer.
I would love to see like just more about Starfleet hierarchy, because like we see this is a production thing, it's who's available, whatever, but we see a whole bunch of different admirals all giving orders to the Enterprise at various times. So like I would love to see that fleshed out, like, oh, this person is in charge of these types of missions, that's why you're getting orders from them this week or whatever. So more on that, like that's the kind of stuff I kind of nerd out on. And then also I think about this a lot, because I'm sad and lonely, or because I'm interesting, who's to say? But
both.
How does time work? And by that I mean star dates / like we have clocks that tell us, okay, for me it is now 7:40 p.m. For Trevor it is also 7:40 p.m. because he's in the same state. For Ken over in Maryland, it is 10:40 p.m. Like, so if you're in Paris, you're the president of the Federation, and you need to talk to the Chancellor of the Klingon Empire, from when to when would the Chancellor be awake? I always find that kind of stuff interesting, particularly given that our 24-hour clock is based on how long it takes our planet to rotate. So Mars is slightly longer. And there have been some interesting stuff, interesting studies about like people who are doing Mars mission prep, working Martian hours, and like how that fucks with their circadian rhythm. It's like fascinating stuff. And as boring as I feel this is for everyone listening to me right now, I'm really good at running a stream. This is something I would love to see explained in Star Trek, but for this reason alone, and like Bajor is 26
DS9,
hours.
26.
Like it would be too boring to put it in actual production, but I would love it. I would love a little touch
at
of
it.
I will say the Klingon Chancellor, not someone I would want to wake up to have a casual conversation.
Yes. I agree.
Or if you get them like into like 4 blood wines, what does that mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's probably what he's at his best.
Yeah,
it's when I make my best decisions. I don't know about you.
There's all these assistants writing down this stuff, and we have to do it now.
I like they're highlighting in the chat. There's a lot of fun stuff with them being in the 32nd century, threads that they could pick back up from what we've seen in past Trek. But I also like that they're forging their own new path. Like I have some quibbles about the 10C towards the end. Like Trevor mentioned a few weeks ago when we were doing our season 4 deep dive Salon, like we don't know their actual name, even though we built a rapport with them. So, little things like that I would love to see fleshed out. But
It's just a smell.
Yeah, it's just yes. Their name is
Lilac Baby Powder.
It smells like a butthole.
But a nice one, not a.
I don't think that counts as a problematic either alert, but
It's just
It
gross.
does when you add
It's
up
just
what
gross,
Joanne, and
yes.
I were all thinking.
Yeah, it's just gross.
You can see in my brain.
One
Now we're
one
off
last
track.
yeah.
I know. It's
The
bad.
last bit to talk about. I know we have a small crew today, so we probably won't go we certainly will not go the full 2 hours. But not cutting this short. We can
Challenge
go.
me.
Yeah,
I know.
we can go as long as we want to.
Well, we don't have to talk about this episode, but we could definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's actually. Let me remove this for a second. That funny enough, Norman in the chat commented on one of our other videos, wondering where's the TNG thumb wars for seasons 5, 6, and 7, and the answer is I think I answered the comment. That was before we left our salons up, before they imploded after.
Oh yeah, because I watched those, but yeah.
After airing. But also the thumb war was born from talking in the middle of talking about a Star Trek Lower Decks episode. Trevor was like, here's
Season
a point
7
I
is-
want to make about season 7 of Star Trek The Next Generation. And I was like, you know what? Let's pull this thread for an hour. And
So
let's
for those of you who enjoyed Thumb Wars, you're welcome. For those of you who just fast forwarded past them, I apologize.
I've
It
actually
was
thought about
great.
us. We should probably go back and record whichever seasons are missing, and that way we
Try
can
to
leave them
remember
on.
what we said last time.
Or just like, yeah. I mean, I think we've
I
said in
should have
any.
downloaded them. Shit.
Oh, damn it. Well, thanks, Joel. It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Because
God
I didn't.
damn it.
I was at work sometimes, so I didn't. I would like come in when I could, but you didn't delete them till the morning, so I
Yeah.
could go home and rewatch them still. So I had a
No.
small window to download them, but I should have hoarded them. But
Is that how YouTube works? Because I've tried the download feature and then it's like not actually
no.
there.
It's the YT-DLP. It's software,
Oh,
not the YouTube
okay.
one.
All right. Well, good to know. My secrets aren't safe.
No,
Yeah, well,
they are because I was lazy. They
Well, for
could
the-
have not been safe, but
For the audience, we used to allow the salon to implode because we were even more chaotic than we are now.
yeah.
And also like various reasons. The salon as it is today is an evolution of
Space.
Spaces and like where it started. It was, we were doing a weekly space with Sohail, and then Trevor and I connected and started talking about wanting to keep the conversation going. So we started doing the after Sohail space. Then it became this, and now it's just a lovely mess all around. And who knows what it'll be next week.
But we do owe someone famous for the fact that the salon stays up. Because
that's right.
At when we were at Vegas last year, due to some wonderful connections through a saloner, we were able to have a nice conversation with Greg Grunberg, who asked how he could watch our episodes, and we were like, you can't. Because
Yeah, I
we're
can see why you
too
feel bad.
It's such a weird thing to say to a celebrity too. So a celebrity is like, "Oh, I would love to listen to your podcast. Where can I do that?" You can't.
and to actually have someone ask, like, we described the show to him, and he's like, "That sounds awesome. How can I watch?" And we're like,
No,
about that.
not you, Greg.
Well, you don't
Grunberg.
think anyone's watching. You don't think anyone's going to care.
Yeah.
At Vegas, someone recognized me from the little pop-up when they highlight the comments,
Yeah.
and not someone who's in the chat. And I was just like, okay, hi. I had no idea.
Stan and I were recognized as being from the salon. It was the weirdest thing that's
I've
ever
met
happened to either
people
one of us.
who have shown up in the chat.
Mhm.
I won't say their name. Who watch the salon, and that's not why I was just talking to them about their uniform, and
And it's lovely for anybody in the audience. If you see us in Vegas, please. It's a little odd for me to hear my name shouted at a
you
Star
need to
Trek
spend a little more
convention. It was
time
like,
at the masquerade.
what,
That's all I gotta say.
TBD.
I'm
We
trying
were
to be
there.
funny. You were, but not.
We were there.
We were there.
We were there.
We were there, but
Yeah.
We don't remember a lot of it, but we were there.
I was. Yes. What was I saying?
I derailed.
No one
everything.
knows.
No, it's fine. We were talking about how derailing is what we do. But yes, partially because he was like, no, you guys should. That sounds. He was really cool. He was like, that sounds lovely. You guys should leave them up. And I was like, and I was also honest. Like living in LA, I am not trying to get into entertainment, but I'm taking classes to stretch my creative side. And I mentioned this in an improv class this morning. I love my job, and I've got some security there, but like, should the universe provide an opportunity for me to randomly like be an extra on something or whatever, that would be lovely. And like my paranoid, speaking of my dad being a piece of shit, I get some really bad paranoia from him. And I just think like, man, what if I say something just a little too bitchy about Picard season 3 and I get blacklisted from Paramount? I love all Star Trek, all of it, even when I nitpick it. And it's just lovely to discuss. But we've gone off on a tangent.
A fun comment though that Sohail posted was that he kind of loves how everything he does is the Sohail thing. It's referred to as the Sohail thing. So yes.
Yes, and Sohail and everybody should come to SDLV. It's super fun. I know not everybody can. There's a certain level of privilege being able to travel and get there and whatnot. But
I've been pressuring Sohail for months now. I hope I'm not annoying, but well, kind of annoying. But
well, speaking of, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm a queen of segues. I love both of these characters, especially Tilly. She's probably one of my favorite aspects of Discovery. Though I will say one of the things that didn't quite land for me in this episode is like, what's going on with Culber? Is he having an existential crisis? Is he going to unalive himself? Is he going to break up with his husband? Is he like, does he just need to open up the relationship? Like what I don't get what's going on here. What are these big questions that he's having? Am I like, thoughts?
I have a theory, and it's what well, I mean, maybe it's too soon for this to be happening because of the fact that they didn't know that this was their final season, but it feels very much like, because he's confiding in Tilly, that Culber's coming very close to being like, being a physician and a counselor on a starship is not where I want my career to go right now. Maybe I should be teaching young people. Maybe I should be doing something different with my life. And maybe he moves to the academy when she does. And they're setting that up.
it's also kind of like Culber's worried about talking to Stamets, but he hasn't.
I found that weird.
And it's one thing if you brought it up and then it went astray and you got rid of you ended the conversation and it was weird, but it sounds like that didn't happen, and he's just worried.
And he's setting up it's such a weird worry because he thinks Stamets doesn't like change and but they're both like people of science. So I don't get that concern that you're not about
Stamets
data.
isn't the same. He got the tardigrade DNA. He's no longer that asshole.
Right. Like he's very, loopy.
And began the season talking about how now he feels like he's not as useful because of Spore Drive being put out of commission. He needs something new, or needs something new to discover. Why in the world are they not having these conversations? Like, it feels. Listen, as the old married gay guy of the group, like, I can say, like, there are conversations that like my husband would have with me, or maybe there would be a friend that would be better to have the conversation with because that person's experience more aligns with whatever he's experiencing. But it wouldn't be something we would hide from each other. Like, that person might be giving you better advice, but like I can't talk to Trev about this would be like a super weird thing for us to encounter. So like the way that Culber's delivering it and the way that it's being set up, I agree. It's like, what's the mystery? Like, why is this so difficult for him to talk to his husband about? It's weird.
Yeah, it feels like existential crisis.
Yeah.
of which I have had many. Um, my nihilism phase was lovely, very helpful. Now I'm in an absurdist phase that I hope lasts because it's a good, fun place to be. Life is absurd, and that we exist at all is incredible. I don't drink on these. Like I'm not crossfaded, as was referenced earlier. Like I'm completely sober on these usually lately. But I've thought about these big questions, right? Like you know what, we're gonna do it almost every night before I fall asleep. It occurs to me that I'm gonna die. I don't know why. It happens like clockwork. Maybe it's an ADHD thing, maybe it's a depression thing, I don't know. But what happens? Where did we come from? These big questions. Like I've gone through the existential crises, especially after my dog died 2 years ago. It was rough. And then the pun was not intentional.
Oh my god, I just got it.
RUDH,
I just
not,
got it. I was
It's
like,
just
That was
got
not
it.
bad. That's fine. There
it
was
was
no.
Yeah,
unintentional.
I was, and what's funny is that in my head, like having gone through the same thing and having had it be somewhat life changing as well, I was like, yeah, that was rough.
Yeah,
And
it
I'm
was
like,
rough.
I did it too. I'm like, but I did it in my head and still didn't clock it. Sorry,
But
carry on.
move from nihilism, like nothing matters, and that's awful, / nothing matters, and that's very freeing, into absurdism. Like life is absurd. It is ridiculous. I get having the questions, but like maybe it's the way that they're flushing it out that isn't jiving for me. But they're like, there's just like, dude literally died and came back, and they haven't connected those two things. Like it feels weird to me that he hasn't been like, I had this profound experience that I thought I was past, and now this mission is drudging up old feeling. Like there's some connective tissue there that they haven't flushed out, I don't, in my personal opinion. And so it's just not quite landing for me. And I do wonder what are they setting up? Are they setting up for Colbert to be in the Academy show as well? I'm kind of indifferent on that. I love Tilly. I'm so excited for her to be part of that. The way that they all talk about it is interesting because everybody has said, if asked, or I would love to, and only Mary Wiseman is like, I can't talk about that. You're trying to get me in trouble. So like, yes, but Stamets going to the Vulcan Academy finally, because they've been talking about doing that for years, and Colbert being on Earth, which is one day away by warp, like, or maybe he figures out a spore drive, an individual spore drive or something, so that they can.
He becomes a personal
transport warping.
Yes.
yeah.
No, beaming.
Yeah,
Transport beaming. There we go.
That could be fun. Like
That's for the movie, though. That's for the movie.
Yes, they do the long distance thing. I don't know. Like we've seen so little of them together this season. It feels like they're gearing up for a breakup or a something, or like it's just not, it's too vague and just not landing for me.
Yeah. I don't. I think they're trying to posit maybe what the outcome is, because this whole sort of chase has been kind of framed as them searching for kind of life, and if you extend it, it's kind of that search for God, the people who created us, I think is what he said, or the thing that created us. And until he bringing up, there's a thin line between the intellectual and the spiritual, and he's like, I never said spiritual, and she's like, oh yeah, you did. So maybe they're doing the whole faith science thing. I don't know. Or maybe he just wants to leave. I don't know. It's just, yeah.
It
And
would be
Stamets-
interesting
yeah.
if he left, not necessarily left medicine behind, but became some sort of, what if his newfound career path is to actually involve himself in faith or involve himself in some sort of faith-based career
Yeah.
change.
Starting a new religion.
He's just starting, yes, the Church of Culver. I don't know. They all meet at a gym every day. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
Because this guy works
for
out.
half the day. For
Mhm.
half the day.
For half a day, yeah, right, or twice a day, because yeah, I have too many jokes that I'm just going to leave alone. But yes,
And they kind of ignore too that Stamets isn't really been the same too, not just from the tardigrade DNA, but from losing Culver,
Mhm.
finding him in the spore network, and then getting him back too. He's not exactly the same either, and that wasn't exactly regular science either. So everyone's been changed too, but they kind of ignore that part. Or Culver does. I don't know why. Because he's not talking
Well,
to him
and
about it. I don't know.
that's what frustrated me about that whole plot line, is that
Yeah.
Colburn never considered it while it was happening. Like,
Yeah.
Stamets was literally saying, do you understand how amazing this is? Like, I had thought I had lost you. And at no point, yes, you went through something nuts that, like, at this point, no one's ever gone through. But he never looked at his husband and went, oh, wow. Like, if like, you can't imagine what it's like to be me having died and come back, but I can't also imagine what it must have been like for you to lose me and then all of a sudden I'm back again. Maybe I shouldn't be such a raging dick to you. Anyway, I'll stop being.
Yeah, I
bitter
realize
about
it's probably
it.
hard to come back from the dead, and you got to cut people some slack, but
I guess.
maybe quit cutting the dead who come back slack.
So any predictions for where we're going next? We had a rhyme, a lullaby.
Now we have a little glass vial.
We have is it Cologne? Where where do we think we're going next?
What if it's the 10C? What if it's just smelly stuff?
I think it's either Scotch or just theater kids singing along to Repo the Genetic Opera.
It's a tear stick.
Oh, so hell, behave.
Oh.
It's
what did he
pre-workout. I don't
say?
think it's pre-workout.
No, it's not.
I know.
Okay.
Oh.
For those of you watching or listening on Twitter, but if you're on YouTube, you can see the inappropriateness in the comments.
Yes.
I don't know. I thought he was about to say it was poppers.
Whoa. It's happened before. We've given them from in the comments. So go ahead and give one to Sohail.
Yes.
He earned it.
It is earned. The other one was also appropriate, though.
She earned it.
Off the rails.
As it were.
Yes. So no predictions. How about final thoughts on this episode? We can start to wrap this up. We gotta wrap this mother up, okay? Wrap it up, to quote the great Jennifer Lewis in Sister Act.
Remember, kids, wrap it up.
Also that.
This was a strange. I like this episode, but it was strange seeming they were kind of cost cutting. Owo and Detmer were mentioned but not on. There was no personal transporting except for Tilly at the end once, and then you think using Strange New World sets would that would save them money, but I don't know. It was kind of a strange mix. But the Breen was expensive to show their station, and it looked really good, and we got some interesting things, but they don't really give a clue at all. Yeah, just like we'll find out next week what this means. And then,
I'm liking the pacing. Like if every episode was just another Clue episode, it would get kind of boring. So I think last week being let's explore Raynor a little bit with some timey-wimey stuff was a fun breather, like we talked about. I know some people we had a fun per the word in the ether last week being filler. But this episode was similar in that we get some we get a bit of a breather in like trying to find the next thing to explore our characters, to give Book and Michael some time to reconnect. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. Joanne, your final thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, I left this kind of not wondering anything, quite frankly. Um, like I didn't, because they didn't tip their hand. I don't think in any sort of direction. Um, but I'm like you all. I want kind of some resolution to the Book and Michael thing, or at least yes, we're gonna do this. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what
Trevor,
else to say.
Trevor, your final thoughts?
We just hit the magic number on Twitter, so just had to point out number of views. 69.
Oh, and I'm seeing 80, Starbase 80.
My final thoughts are, again, I didn't dislike the episode. It's just sort of my meh of the season, but it's kind of my first one. So that's cool. And a lot of that just has to do with our villains and spending so much time on them. I like them being fleshed out. I just felt like their story was kind of snoozeville. I look forward to finding out what's going on with Colbert. I just hope it's not something lame, for lack of a better.
Fair. All right. Well, do you want to give us the tallies before we wrap it up?
I would be happy to. So there were 7 problematic gay alerts.
Nice.
How
did we have more than a usual episode with more fagots in the chat?
That
we tried really hard, Joanne.
That doesn't include the one that I should have given myself in the pre-show. So before we went live, I kind of should have given myself.
There was one, but no one saw it but us.
Right. If a problematic gay alert happens in the and no one's there to hear it. Anyway, does it make
your butthole clench?
Does it make a swish? So there were 7 problematic gay alerts, 1 Bev alert. Thank you very much. 2 problematic ally alerts. Nicely done. Bonus points. 1701 bonus points to Joel for stunt double realness. Welcome to your first on-camera show,
yes,
sir.
Welcome.
An additional bonus point to Joel for dry erase balloons or balloon.
Yeah,
and then minus 5 bonus points from Joel for getting to download lost episodes of Salon. 14 bonus points to Joanne for RuPaul season 4 winner callbacks. Because you somehow worked Willow Pill into this conversation, and that was impressive. And 1,000 to Randolph in the comments for great pairings in Trek, though both of them included himself in the pairing, but we're here for that, and we support you.
Yeah.
And shout out to Sohail for trying to bring all 900 of his episode husbands to Escalade.
And for making Salon and bringing us all together like the Whistle Stop Cafe.
The birthing, the midwife of the Salon. I don't know. Well, y'all, this was lovely as always. A bit of a shorter episode tonight, but we will be back next week.
There's no dogs interrupting anyone, even though you have 2. I don't even know how you do it.
Yes. One was at daycare for a good chunk of the day so that I could run errands. And the other is just a lazy lump. He's a wonderful dog. I'm dog sitting until about half an hour from now, actually. Lovely that they're just chilled out on the couch. But yes, lovely as always. We will be back next week at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, right here at Salon Trek on YouTube, talking about the 6th episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 5. And at Salon Trek is also where you will find us on Blue Sky or Twitter, or both, in fact, not or, and shameless plug, side project for some of us, at Lower Decks _S6, inspired by, of course, at TNG at S8 season 8. throwing out some would-be plots and musings for a tragically denied to us season 6 of Star Trek Lower Decks. So check that out if you want some fun there, and
It's good.
like and subscribe to all of the things. We always appreciate you. Lovely lively chat tonight, super fun. Really appreciate everybody being part of the salon. You all make it the fun place that it is. This is the highlight of my week. Enjoy talking Star Trek with all of you. Thank you to my saloners, and with that I will just say live long and prosper. See y'all next week.